to personify the watcher into one of the characters, to want the kicks, the kind of melodramatic thrills and chills you'd yearned for since childhood, the kind of adventure you'd found as a little child in the pages of Tintin comic books. The Xcinquemilians is based upon real accounts by former expatriates and inspired by contemporary events in the cruising world. Expat life and centers on the daily life and missions of agents within the Home Office, Directorate General for External Security, the principal external security service. It focuses on the Bureau Le Mila, responsible for training and handling deep cover agents, operating under Mila, on long-term missions in areas with French and Dutch interests, especially the main ports in North Africa, Panama, the Middle and Far East. Living under false identities for years, these agents' missions are to identify and recruit good intelligence sources. Featuring intelligence officer, Eddie Del Pino, codenamed Le Druid, who returns to Rennes, Bretagne, France, after many years undercover in Xcinquemilian in the New Territories. He has to face the challenge of reconnecting with his daughter, ex-wife, colleagues, and even his old self. But his return to normal life proves difficult, especially when he discovers that Chinoise, who was his love in Xcinquemilian, is now also in Rennes. We follow his attempts to navigate the rules of life as a spy, and his increasing tenuous position with Mila. The Xcinquemilian modus operandus explained by De Mila.
We follow the principles of many, but yet only those of our own. We are short-handed, but not alone. Since the dawn of time we are moving silently through the centuries, living many secret lives, trying to reach the time of the meeting, where the few remaining fight to the end. No one has ever known we were among you, until now. We are traveling in the search for is our destination, which will take us to places uncharted. Do we really want to travel in hermetically sealed plastic vessels? Through rural provinces, in search of French utopia, the Atlantic, the Caribbean, Panama, the Southern Ocean and the Far East Pacific, and endure freeze of Antarctica? Or do we just eat only in hard rock cafes and McDonald's? We want to eat and travel without fear, tearing into the local brew. The humble taqueria's mystery meat, the sincerely offered gift of a lightly grilled fish head. We know what we want. We want it all. We want to try everything once.
The Xcinquemilians decided to go on a quest to Parts Uncharted, using a sailing vessel as their transport means. But before they can travel, they have to find the ideal vessel. With help of Le Druid, they investigate their options, to build or not to build, that is their question. For what it looks like, their needs exceed the specifications of many vessels. Their first quest is to find a place and design to build. They call in the help of the El Capitano, a naval architect in Enkhuizen, Holland. Marinus Ursus Maritimus. The focus is also on another character from the past, Marinus codename Le Mum. In the 80s he was leaving for Beijing to work undercover as a specialist in spookinometry, in order to gather intelligence about Peninsula Quantum Weapons Program. Red, the cameraman, has been promoted to deputy director but also become a double agent recruited by the Wu, an underground network of SSB operators. Le Druid becomes increasingly desperate to resolve the situation with Chinoise, which culminates in serious consequences for the both of them. Meanwhile, the Bureau Le Mila has the challenge of a bloodthirsty French pirate, who is publicly taunting France. Le Druid and Le Mum are speeding up their quest to build the new transport, the Xcinquemilian. It looks their first mission is to go and find the Wu and his SSB operators. They have to infiltrate the cruising community, in search of the SSB network, nicknamed the Pactor. In every port they need to find these operators and turn them into assets for De Mila. The Pactor has a system for live streaming events with secret connectors to the Onion, the spookinometry cluster of weather jumpers. The Xcinquemilians sequel, based upon real accounts by former expatriates and inspired by contemporary events in the cruising world. Expat life and centers on the daily life and missions of agents within the Bureau Le Mila, responsible for training and handling deep cover agents, operating under Mila, on long-term missions in areas with French and Dutch interests, especially the main ports in North Africa, Panama, the Middle and Far East. Living under false identities for years, these agents' missions are to identify and recruit good intelligence sources. They travel to Parts Uncharted to find the operatives of Pactor to turn them as assets for Le Mila. Featuring Intelligence Officer, Eddie Del Pino, codenamed Le Druid. Follow the Le Druid and Le Mum here on YouTube. How to become a weather jumper, or a crew member of Le Mila, contact the Xcinquemilians, on links below. Please give it a like, leave a comment, click that bell, and above all subscribe. The Xcinquemilians. Filmed to personify